So let me just say formally welcome everyone. It's great to have you here. Look at all those excited faces. It's going to be a crazy week of knitting and patterns. So welcome to the seminar. You are here for the knitting seminar, aren't you? Or do I miss it?
We're all in training.
Yeah, exactly. Half of you guys, how many people have trained with me before? Hands up. There you go. So you guys already know what's coming. How many of you haven't trained with me before? You guys are about to have a roller coaster ride of excitement. We're here for the Walk Up Advanced Street Hypnosis Seminar. I'm here with what I think is probably the best street hypnotist that I've ever come across, hands down bar none. Of course, this is Anthony Jacquin. You can call him Master. So I think before we start, I'd give him a nice round of applause because this guy has... Anthony is going to show you some stuff that will really blow your mind, and I think it's going to be a very exciting seminar. So I hope you guys are looking forward to things. Before we begin, there's a couple of things you need to know. If you look at the back row over here, we have all these lovely faces. These are all our assistants here for the street hypnosis training, except for some who just snuck into the assistant's chair, but that's okay. I think you can tell who that is. Aside from the slightly shell-shocked one, what these folks have volunteered to do, which is very kind of them, is because there's a rather large crowd of you and we can't take 80 people out at the same time, it's going to be a little difficult or at least scary for the world when there are more hypnotists in the room than people, right? So what we're going to do is when the time comes to actually go out and stuff, we'll split you up into groups and you'll be led out by one of these guys. They've all had experience with street hypnosis. They'll have fun with you, they'll help you out, they'll be there, they'll patch things up if they all go wrong, so you're in good hands there. So at some point, feel free to go up there, thank them, shake their hand, buy them a drink, but after the street hypnosis, because having a drunk instructor is probably not a good idea. Any other kind of words or admin bits you want to
No,
cover?
it's good to see a few familiar faces, and some of those faces, have done this kind of training with me before. As you know, this is about practical skills. So there is a flip chart, but it's not going to get used a great deal today. We're going to really drill in the techniques bit by bit by bit until you've got the whole pie, as it were. And so I'll introduce you to my team in a bit more detail later on. But they're all, they're my best co-trainers. They're out there earning money doing this and found ways of monetizing street hypnosis without having to do traditional stage hypnosis. So you're in safe hands and we'll have a lot of fun.
And on that note, just remember, this is adult learning. By the time we start taking you out into the field and so on, you'll have some pretty decent skills as hypnotists. Even those of you, anyone here not have any formal training in hypnosis before? There's a few of you. By lunchtime, you'll be putting people on the streets in trance and it'll be easy, right? The thing to realize, though, is please bring with you the same kind of common sense that you've lived your entire life with, because hypnosis is a wonderful tool, but it's not magic. So make sure that and we'll talk more about safety and all that sort of stuff as we go along, as the hypnotist, you're in charge of the interaction, which means you're in charge of other people's health and well-being and so on. So when you go out there, by all means, have a great time. By all means, do all these crazy and wacky things. Just be respectful of the people that you work with, and make sure that you're doing it in a way that is going to be generally healthy and safe for the other people. Don't worry, we'll talk more about the things to look out for as we go along. Just bear in mind, at one point when this seminar is over, which will be, think about it, in about sometime about tomorrow, you'll have all the skills of a street hypnotist. You'll do more and more interesting stuff, more wacky stuff, more outrageous stuff than most of the YouTube videos you may or may not have seen, right? After that, it's just a question of polishing those skills to give you what you want, whether it's a lecture demo for a formal setting, whether you want to have like an impromptu dinner party where you do something cool, whether you want to be a paid professional doing walk-around hypnosis in a bar or a restaurant. It doesn't matter. You'll be able to develop your own style, your own system, your own performance, right? But by the time I leave tomorrow, you will all be competent hypnotists. So you may as well start now with the attitude, which means you're in charge, you're directing the show, you're responsible. Does that make sense? And at the flip side of that is, you're also responsible for you. Believe it or not, we're not responsible for you. This is not therapy. This is not group therapy training. And, we understand that going out and meeting members of the public, it can be a little bit scary. We're looking at you and you're members of the public, and I don't know about you, I'm a little bit scared. Exactly, I should be, right? Now, the thing is, though, when you start working with people, they're going to look to you for the level of interaction, right? So make sure that you're in a good state, make sure you're having a good time, and everything will go well. If for whatever reason you want to take a break, or you can get a little bit too nervous, there's too much pressure being built up or anything like that, there is absolutely nothing wrong at all with just saying, you know what, I'm just going to take 5, right? I'll just watch this one. I'll sit this one out, right? In here, this is a safe environment. You'll be able to get lots of stuff done. But what I want you to realize is we're not going to push you. You're not going to be laughed at or ridiculed or anything like that if you don't do the right thing, because there is no time limit on how long you need to have to get the stuff. You will absolutely have the skills by the close of tomorrow, and you'll have a nice polished set of skills by the end of the 3 days. Then when you use it is really entirely up to you, right? You might be having dinner with friends and you just feel in the mood, and you'll do it. Or you might be out one night, and after this whole thing is over, you maybe haven't done anything in particular, but you're just having a good time, you have a few drinks with friends, and you feel a little playful, so you turn to the person next to you, and before you know it, the whole bar is going, who the hell is that? Right? There is no time limit on when or where you do it. So please be kind to yourselves and just enjoy the thing. If you go out and you feel like doing it, great. If you don't really feel like doing it, no need to do it. And if you feel like pushing yourself anyway, by all means do so. But I can't decide that for you. Anthony can't decide that for you. You need to decide at what point you push, and at what point you just back off and relax and just take a breather. Does that make sense to you guys? And this is very important, especially given what we're doing here, because I think the last thing you want to have, I mean, imagine this scene, right? You have a hypnotist who's like this, okay, let me inside your mind now, I want to do something really fun. You can kind of see where we're going with this, right? The good news is we have a very polished way of getting to the point where you're doing this stuff so easily, so naturally, out there on the streets, that whether you do it with your best friend or complete stranger, it will not make much difference to you. Sound good to you guys? All right, so in terms of logistics, anything else? We've got covered lunchtime, we've got lunch breaks. We'll start at 9 a.m. Again tomorrow morning. If those of you want to come in a little bit early at 8:30, we'll have a little bit of a Q&A kind of presentation, stuff like that. So you're welcome to come in early for that, or if you want to have that extra half hour sleep, you're welcome to have that as well. We'll talk a little bit about that more later on today. And other than that, really, it's just the one key thing you have to take with you for the next 3 days, especially whilst we're in here, and actually especially out there as well, is just your attitude. Your attitude will make or break what you do, right?
Yep, I believe that.
So bring a good attitude. Anyone here think they have a bad attitude? If you're raising your hand right now, then please get out. So keep that attitude of interest, of learning something new, experimenting with something. In here, you get to experiment with whatever you want, right? It doesn't matter if it goes right or wrong, quote unquote, it doesn't matter. Experiment, have fun with it, push your limits. If there's something you've always wanted to be able to do with hypnosis, as long as it's ethical and legal, and you've never quite had the opportunity or the courage to try it out, in here will be the perfect place to try it out. Yeah, it's safe here, there's friendly people here. If it doesn't quite work out the same way, you have people like Anthony, myself, and all these great assistants who can come in and help you out and show you where you might be missing a step or something along the ways. So this is really the place to experiment and explore. Make sense? Then when we get out on the streets, all you have to do is some very simple things, and we'll actually show you how the simplest of things can be the most amazing, and how you can put them together into this amazing piece where people think like, oh, how many thousands of years have been doing this, right? Who would want that, by the way, that kind of skill, right? So I guess if you want that, then there's some part of you inside of you already knows what the attitude is, don't you? Right? Can all of you picture yourselves being a little different, a little bit more relaxed, a little more fun, a little bit more charismatic, pulling people's attention in, doing some amazing things, getting those reactions? Can all of you imagine that to some degree, yes? Well, if you can do that, then there's already some part of you that knows how to do this. The only thing that's missing might be some insights and skills, but that's what we're here to fill in terms of the gaps. Does that make sense?
Just talk about attitude and being your best self quite often. It doesn't mean you've got to be a clone of myself or Igor. Be yourself, but just be your best self. Be a little bit bigger than the person you're dealing with, or be bigger than the group that you're dealing with. And as Igor said, just having an attitude of brightness and fascination with your own subject is going to help. But what's going to help you much, much more is the fact that hypnosis is the biggest hook. It's so easy to get people's attention if you mention it. We've been here for the last 3 days and hypnotizing everybody. The doorman of the hotel, the bar owners, the people on the street, people in theatres, all over the place. The vast majority of people we approach are at least up for having a go. And I mean kind of 80% of people say, yeah, that's interesting, I've always wanted to be hypnotized. Or, no, that's terrifying, I've always wondered what it feels like. You know, and either way, you can kind of get started with this if you're just being on your top form, realizing, you know, yes, you can go home and you can consolidate all the learnings and read the scripts and go over it until it's 100%. But one of the secrets of being good at this is to understand that it's actually very simple. The techniques are really, really simple, and the people you work with have no idea what's coming. So you don't need to raise your anxiety levels because you stumble on a word or you miss part of the script or you find yourself, you know, changing the structure slightly. But for now, if you haven't had experience of walking up to strangers and introducing yourself as a hypnotist, then we're going to give you ways of doing that. There are loads of different ways you can do it. It will make it easy, and once you've got their interest, just keep it high, just keep them fascinated. That's really all I'm looking for. So
to begin that whole journey off, I think the best way to start is by finding that spark of the attitude we just talked about inside of you and letting that grow. So that's the place from which you learn all the skills, inside of which, and from where you actually begin your career as a proper walk-up street hypnotist, the kind that basically can do all the things you've always thought about doing. Make sense? And the best way to start with that